Welcome back to another episode of the Sunday Scaries. I'm your host, Christine Barker, a 20-year civil litigator and personal mentor. Today we are talking about being scared stupid. What I mean by that, we've all heard it before that there are no stupid questions, but that is not entirely true. But how, as a new associate, are you to know if you are about to ask a stupid question, and then what the consequences are for doing so? First, what is a stupid or dumb question? I like to say that a DUMB question is one where you do not use your brain. A not so nice person in my, thank God, distant past used to use the phrase no-brainer. It drove me nuts. Why in the world would you not use your brain? I hate the phrase and I refuse to ever use it. So a good rule of thumb is that if you can look it up, search it up, or figure it out using your legal brain, it is likely a stupid question. Also, before I dive any further in, let me just say that this segment is not meant to be the end-all be-all gospel on questions you should ask in the workplace. Every firm, every partner, every boss is different. So as an associate, it is up to you to observe, gauge, and yes, even ask questions to ensure that you're meeting the expectations of your boss and of your job. So, some good resources to consult before you ask a stupid question. First, most firms have some sort of internal resources, internal databases, repertoires. For me, I like to keep, it's called our team headquarters. And in the team headquarters, I have things like sample letters, sample emails, settlement agreements, points and authorities that I liked on motions for summary judgment or demurs or motions to strike, subpoenas, things like that. I like to keep a database of samples for myself. I highly encourage, as you're starting your new career, that you do the same. If you run across a motion that you really liked or something that was phrased really well, make a copy of it, hang on to it, so that later on you're not having to reinvent the wheel and you can go consult those samples. You will appreciate it and so will your boss. Practice guides. So most areas of law have some sort of practice guide. The Rudder Group is a really good one for civil litigation. They have it pre-judgment, pre-trial, post-trial. They have it for employment. They have it for appeals. So take a look at some of the practice guides. It used to be that these practice guides were a hardbound book and they were, on some bookshelf inside your law firm. Most of them now are all online. So consult with your IT department or your office administrator and see if you can get a hold of those practice guides. They are invaluable. The first couple of years that I was practicing law, I had no idea that they existed. And I remember a partner telling me one time, I think it's kind of odd that I never see you in the library. Our firm actually had a physical library. Number one, I didn't know we had a library. Number two, I didn't really understand what was in there, but a bunch of old, recorder books that I was now using Westlaw and Lexis in order to do my legal research. He pointed me in the direction of the Rudder guides. There's samples in there. There's explanations and references to how to do an out-of-state subpoena. So consult the practice guides. They will give you a lot of invaluable information. Also, your local bar resources. We all have to do it. We all have to do continuing education. So why not focus that continuing education on things that are, germane to your practice of law? I practice mostly construction litigation, so I do a lot of continuing education around the construction realm. Finally, consult your colleagues and potentially any mentors. And because if you think about it, who would you rather ask a stupid question of? One of your fellow associates or your boss? So, and this also fosters that camaraderie and the collegiate atmosphere of a law firm. I'm certain you had them in law school, your study group or your study partner, somebody that if you didn't understand a legal concept, you guys would talk it out and work out it together before you went into the professor's office hours. Do the same now. Talk with your fellow associates, create that camaraderie, and it will only serve you, as your career continues. Now, if you do have to ask a stupid question, How do you ask a stupid question without looking stupid? First, do not concede ignorance. All too often, questions get prefaced with qualifiers like, I know this is a dumb question, but don't do it. Just don't do it. You're just asking for a dismissive response, or worse, the lingering impression that you're dumb. If you're going to ask the question, ask the question. Also, don't admit ignorance to legalese or buzzwords. Those are simple things that you can look up. When we ask for an explanation in layman's terms, we convey that we may not understand the language that other people are using to communicate. It doesn't matter in the moment if you don't know what a CMO, an IME, or a CMC means. Just don't announce it to everybody in the room, or particularly your boss. Jot it down so you can look it up later. Or if you're on a conference call, open up a quick Google search. If I were to open up Google right now and Google ROO insurance terms, the first thing that pops up is reservation of rights. So if I'm on a conference call with an insurance claims handler and they say something like, yeah, we haven't issued the RO yet, it should be out in a couple of days. Now, I don't know what that means. I can do a quick search. I can find out it means reservation of rights. Okay, now I know what it means. Show what you do know. Some level of unfamiliarity with legal concepts like, say, anti-subrogation clauses or fee shifting provisions is understandable. You're a new associate. No one's expecting you to know those things. But you can ask questions about topics which you are largely unfamiliar with if you demonstrate that you've done your homework. So you can say something like, in preparation for our talk today, I saw is a great lead-in question. And then actually do the prep. Go prep for your meetings with your boss. Treat them just like you would, a client. And be prepared for the conversations that you're going to have with them. You can also say something like, I recently read that. Good way to show off that you've been doing your continuing legal education. I recall an associate one time telling me we had discussed a 998, the statutory offer to compromise in California, and it stuck with her. And after that, every conversation we had where we were discussing resolution strategies, she would bring up, I know we've talked about a 998 before. Is that something that we should be doing here? It demonstrates that she knew what she was talking about. She did her homework, but then she asked a question. You can also get clarity through details. If you don't understand what someone is saying, ask for clarity, ask for details that clarify. Like I said, I just mentioned a 998 offer. You can say, hey, you mentioned a 998 offer. Is there a certain statute that I should be looking up? You could also say, if your boss tells you, I need you to file a CMC statement. You can say, asking a question through clarifying details, you ask me to prepare a CMC statement, which I can do. Do we also need to serve that on the other parties? Again, it shows that you've done your homework, you're familiar, you've listened, but then you're asking a question, just clarifying the details. Like I mentioned before, seek out a colleague. Sometimes it's not actually a stupid question, it's just the wrong person to be asking. So for me, I would be a little annoyed if I had an associate come up to me and ask, what's an IDC? Very easily, they could look up an IDC as an informal discovery conference. They could look that up online, on the court's website, or they could talk to a more senior associate and say, hey, the court's ordered us to do an IDC. What is that? I've never done it before. Better that your senior associate or another colleague think that you don't understand the concept of an informal discovery conference than your boss. Finally, don't waste your boss's time with constant questions, emails, calls, text messages popping into their office. They're busy too. They've got just as heavy of a workload and likely more than you do on their desk. They need focused time in order to get the work done on their desk as well. And if you're constantly calling, constantly emailing, constantly popping your head into their office, you're distracting them. So if it's not urgent and you truly cannot figure it out on your own, you've tried seeking guidance from somebody else and it's just not there, then ask your boss by email, or if you see them in the hall, hey, when's a good time for me to stop by today or for us to have a quick call so that I can ask you some questions? And then gather up all of your questions and do it in one segment. Come prepared with all of your questions. Come prepared with possible solutions. Even if your boss doesn't take your possible solution, they will appreciate the fact that you did your homework, did some research, and came prepared with possible ways of handling a situation. They will appreciate that. And then, for goodness sakes, take notes. Take notes during those meetings so that you don't repeat and ask the same stupid question again. Hope you guys had a great time, and we will see you next time. And remember, if you're looking for a mentor, check out All Rise Mentors. You can scan the QR code and come have some fun with us. Enjoy.